So solar PV, as I said, 2009, they installed 3,800 megawatts. Okay, just for comparison, so that you know, United States, 30 years of solar photovoltaic development. 3 decades, the entire United States, so we're not including Canada, this entire United States, total installed PV capacity of 1,250 megawatts, and Germany in 2009 installed almost 3 times that. It gets worse. It gets a lot worse in a moment here. Currently in Bavaria, now Bavaria is the Alberta of Germany. It's the conservative part of Germany. You know, that's the guys at the lederhosen and drinking a beer. But German farmers wanted feed-in tariffs. That's the reason we have them, is because of the German farmers in Bavaria and the Conservative Party. This wasn't done by the Greens. The first program like this was launched by the Conservative Party and Helmut Kohl. Now the Greens, of course, like it too, and the Social Democrats, they like it too, but it was started by the Conservatives, and so there's no reason your Conservatives can't do it either. Because it's a natural ruling party in Alberta, right? So it's the people you should ask. Currently, Germany gets 1% of its supply from solar photovoltaics today. You know, people are excited about all these big solar plants. You're reading magazines, 30 megawatts, 40 megawatts, 60 megawatts. Germans build 60 megawatt farm, solar farm on an old Russian air base. Okay, so you don't have Russian air bases here, but you got a lot of land. But that's not what the story is. Of all that solar development in Germany today, 90% of that's on rooftops, 30% of that is on residential rooftops, and another 40% is on farmer barn rooftops. So I do like to tweak engineers, and I do like to tweak the Germans. You know, Germans are pretty rigid about these things. Was ist das? Why did they leave the row off of those solar panels there? They're wasting good rooftop here. Well, for those of you up here front, you can see there's a standpipe for the toilet. It would put a shadow on the panel, and so, yeah, it was okay to leave off the row. And the churches are in this too. It's just not people like you and me. It's also your pastor, your prelate. In Germany, the German Lutheran churches believe that in their mandate in biblical scripture is to protect creation, protect the environment. And so they have encouraged German Lutheran churches to cover their rooftops with solar PV. 900 German Lutheran churches have their rooftops covered with PV. I didn't see a one on the Lutheran church here in Alberta, so you need to get going here. As I said, 16% of electricity supply in Germany is from renewables. That's 10% of primary energy, so that includes all the transportation, those big BMWs racing down the Autobahn. And they've created 300,000 jobs in 10 years. Not bad record. I'm certainly sure that Ontario and the Midwest of the United States would love to have those 300 jobs right now. So what's it cost the Germans? Well, it cost them $50 per household. It's about a beer a week. Now, some people say that's too much. The Germans say, well, that's probably okay. Some people think it's too much. I think that's probably a fair price to pay for all that renewable energy development, 300,000 new jobs. It's 5% of their electricity bill. Okay, you need to know. They pay a lot for electricity in Germany. They pay 30 cents a kilowatt hour. The Danes pay 40 cents a kilowatt hour. Well, I mean, it could even be 50 cents. And one of the things you see in Denmark and Germany is you don't leave the lights on. You don't waste electricity. And all of that's tax. The Germans, the Danes, the French certainly are just as good at producing electricity with coal or nuclear or natural gas as you Albertans are, but they tax the hell out of it because they think it's not a God-given right that you consume electricity. It takes a lot to make electricity. Some of those of you who are in the utility industry know how difficult this is. This is a real job. Keep the lights on. And people should pay for it, and they shouldn't squander those resources. So if we want renewable energy to grow at the scale that we need in North America, we have to have the public's participation. We must have the public's support. We have to share the vision that we have with the public, and you can only get that by creating opportunity for all people, all citizens to share in a possibility of building and installing wind turbines or solar panels if we want renewable energy to reach the goals. So, number one rule of Dutch farmers is if you want to increase acceptance, you have to have a share of ownership because your own pigs don't stink. Now, you may not love windmills, Certainly some people don't love windmills. You may not love solar panels. Certainly some people don't like solar panels. But if you're making some money from it, you're a little more tolerant than you might be otherwise. So I emphasize this concept as community power. That's what they tried to do in Ontario, where the development is responsible to the community. It is locally owned. It could be a cooperative. It can be First Nation farmers or homeowners or people like yourself, businesses. And they're doing generation commercially to make a profit. If we have community participation, we have greater acceptance of renewable energy. We have more people involved in the process, more political support, more dynamism, more hope for the future, and we can circulate more money through the local community if it's owned locally and create more jobs for our friends and neighbors in our community. And of course, the best example is that in Denmark, where 5% of the population owns a share of a wind turbine. And they have people who don't like windmills in Denmark too. But there are a lot of other people that do because they get some revenue from the wind turbines. And of course in Germany, this is in the Schwarzwald in the Black Forest, not far from Freiburg. And these two wind turbines are owned by people who live in the city of Freiburg. They're owned as a business. It's a limited partnership or a cooperative. And they're doing it, well, yes, save the earth, but the check is really good. And that's the real reason they're doing it. Or Toronto, the wind share turbine is a classic example here in North America where a cooperative, Toronto Renewable Energy Cooperative, built the first urban wind turbine. It's owned by 450 families in the city of Toronto, co-owned with Toronto Hydro. It's a very prominent location. It's a very popular turbine. It's very successful. And when it's not turning, the telephones at Trek and Windshare ring off the hook. Your windmill's not working. Well, there's no wind today. I don't care, that windmill's not working. Well, we can't do much about it. Well, that's what I thought, you know. So anyway, people keep an eye on it, and if it's not working, we hear about it. And if you look at Northern Europe, about 50% of the wind development has been done through cooperatives or by farmers directly. They have corporate development in Germany. 50% of the wind development in Germany is by traditional corporations. Could be TransAlta, Florida Power and Light, though they're not in Germany. It could be some other kind of company. But 50% is owned by the farmers and people in the local community. And that's not true in Britain or Spain, and certainly not true here in North America. Yet, I want to talk about electricity rebels and how we can use electricity and the movement for feed-in tariffs and the movement for community power to democratize electricity generation by creating opportunity to invest in our local community so that we can create local jobs and not only create opportunity but create hope that we can, as a people, Canadians and Americans, Albertans, Ontarians, Californians, that we can rebuild our societies together, and we can do this in harmony with the environment, but most importantly, we can do this with our neighbors, and we can do it for a profit. We can do it on a sustainable basis. It's done in Germany, and Denmark, and France, and Minnesota, and we're trying to do it in Ontario, and maybe you can do it too here in Alberta, because there are people here in Alberta. You're known for your entrepreneurs, you're people with a business acumen who want to go out there and build new businesses, and that's like Josef Pesch in Freiburg. He personally has built 45 megawatts of wind, solar, and biomass generation personally. Just one man with one secretary, that's it. That's his entire staff. Or Ursula Slodek in Schönau, who didn't like buying nuclear-powered electricity in her village and decided to do something about it. And when her utility said, sorry, that's the electricity we use, that's what you're going to have to take, she said, you don't understand. We're not going to take it anymore. And she organized a public vote, a plebiscite, to say, we want to get rid of this company. We want to take over the power lines ourselves. And she lost. They lost badly. So she tried it again. And they lost again. And they tried it a third time. They're pretty stubborn in this part of Germany. Down there in the south, you know, kind of like Alberta, you know. So they went for the third time, and they won. And it sent shockwaves through the electric utility industry in Germany. Today, Ursula Slodek and the people who work for her serve 31,000 customers with 100% green energy, 100% renewable energy. So it can be done. It's not easy, though. As I said, it's pretty tough.